This is a sketch of a dogo head with an overlay. If you can tell, there's an overlay of the dogo skull. You can see right here is the orbital processes, which is where Antonio used to measure the distance from the one-to-one. But we have to stop really thinking about it that way. So I'll go over how it needs to be done. But this is the actual, this sketch is the actual dog that goes to the skull that the sketch is. So it's a sketch off of pictures that really were the live dog. So here you can look at this, convex, concave, and then A to B and B to C is where you get this 50-50 or 1-to-1 ratio. But it's a very confusing project for the judges. It's very confusing for them to understand that they have to feel for this bone or just have an idea of where it is in a dogo. It's not where the stop is, and they're used to looking for the stop in dogs, so that leans them towards a dog with a longer muzzle because they're expecting the 50-50 to be from something they can see from outside the dog, which is perfectly reasonable. So we got to start thinking about it in a way that they can understand. Having to do it towards the ceiling so that you can get the picture of the underlay or overlay. So we have to start looking from here to about where the stop is, and then to the occipital bone. With the Dogo Argentino head, we have to figure out a new way to explain to judges how the ratio is from the muzzle to the skull, because the way that it is regurgitated all the time is 1-to-1, which, okay, that's the way that Antonio described it. But that 1-to-1 is from a point somewhere in this area that is not detectable without pushing into the dog's head to feel for that bone. So we need a judge to be able to look at the dog from 10 feet away, 5 feet away, even a couple of feet, it makes no difference. But they got to be able to look at it and see the distance from here to about where the stop is, and the distance from where the occiput is to where the stop is. And that is going to give us a different ratio than 1-to-1. It's actually going to be a 2-to-3 ratio, 2 being the muzzle, 3 being the skull. That's about 40% of the total. The muzzle will be 40% of the total length of the head. After measuring about 20 dogs, plus or minus, I realized that it's accurate to say that the correct head size in relation to the height of the dog is going to be about 36, 38 to 40%. Anywhere in between 36 and 40% is going to be pretty consistently the number from height to the length of the entire head. And when I say the length of the entire head, I'm talking about from here to the occiput. The whole length of the head is going to be about 40%. Just the same as the muzzle is about 40% of the entire head, the head is going to be about 40% of the entire height of the dog at the withers. This is a sketch off of a Dogo Argentino male, full grown. As you can see, it's a scissor bite, it's complete dentition, and this is an accurate depiction of the dog's skull. This is where you see the convex, and this is where you see the concave into the muzzle, and then it follows through with the cartilage, would continue the concavity of the head. Two different views of, they're two different dogs, but you can see the shapes of the eyes are the same. You see, this is not head-on perfectly. Neither of them are perfectly head-on, but you can see that the musculature on the top of the head is what creates the convex shape. You see that they have really strong cheek muscles. The lips are not passing the lower jaw. This one has an open mouth, but it doesn't pass the lower jaw. But this is the expression of a dogo. The eyes are not wide open, and it's a muscular dog. It's been about 5 years since I created the mancha measurement method, and it was to give just people a rough idea of what the maximum size of the patch is. It's not, you know, it's not set in stone, but this would be the max size. If you look in comparison to my hand, that's 3.4 inch across on the circle if it was a circular patch, and this would be on a 26.5 inch dog. It could be a little less, a little more. I wouldn't really be so much of a stickler of a little bit here and a little bit there being a little bit bigger than that. And if it were to be a square, which I mean, it never comes in a square, but just to give you an idea, I mean, it's about the size of the palm of my hand, but I am 6'5", so maybe a little bit smaller. But you can see it's a little smaller than the palm of my hand, so you know, maybe it's the average size hand, the palm of the average size hand. It's probably about the size of a baseball, maybe a little bit bigger than a baseball. And again, this is the measurement of 10% of the head, approximately, of the biggest dog that's accepted into the AKC right now. It could be that the dog is bigger than that or the head is out of proportion, but it's definitely this is the size. So to recap a little bit, this is obviously a furnished head of a Dogo Argentino, and on this side is the skull with none of the soft tissue. When you're looking at just the skull, it is simple to use this as a point of reference for 1-to-1 ratio. However, when you're looking at the head like this, that point of reference disappears.